taking the break was just to get a better understanding of one of the last proposed amendments. And Mr. Ball, do you want to address that, please?
Yes, I have a slide on your screen, and it's the Indian Head Science and Technology Park property. And I think we wanted to clarify Commissioner Rucci's proposal that would include the area in blue as 50 acres for industrial employment use. It's right across from the airport. And then some portion of the northern part also to retain somewhere approximately 80 acres above the low Stream Valley area. I have an exact boundary for that.
Okay.
Also for employment and industrial.
Yeah, my purpose was trying to compromise. There was another amendment to take the whole thing out. I was trying to keep some in for the airport for future economic development, so it gives us a shot, because you can't sell the airport or anything else without something showing that what can be there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Everybody clear then about that proposed amendment? Everybody is. Okay, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk, we'll give you another try.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to amend the 2016 draft comprehensive plan as follows? And I'll go through the numbers. Proposed amendment number 1, designate Bryan's Road as a mixed-use village as proposed in the merge scenario rather than a growth center.
So moved.
Okay, it has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just a little explanation behind it.
Commissioner Robinson.
The current growth rate forecast for Bryan's Road would require infrastructure that would be prohibitively expensive, and also by redesignating the area would help promote redevelopment in Indian Head, which is in dire need of such.
Is there any other discussion or questions on proposed amendment number 1? All right. Madam Clerk, I think just as a matter of record, we should do all of these as a voice vote.
Okay.
Roll call, please, and that way there'll be no question. Okay.
Sure. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, so I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Opposed.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Is there a motion to amend the plan according to proposed amendment number 2? The village, meaning Bryan's Road, should be identified as the area north of Route 210.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Are there any questions? Madam Clerk?
I'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
No.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
And the motion passes 3 votes to 2. Is there a motion to amend the plan pursuant to proposed amendment number 3? Apply the rural conservation land use designation to the area of Marshall Hall, shown as rural residential, and designate this area as Tier 4 on the septic tier map.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Is there discussion?
I have a discussion.
Yes. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah. Each of these proposed amendment pretty much shuts down this side of the county for any further development. And as my district, the district that I'm from, I must speak for the people from that area who are not just conservationists. There are people who want a grocery store, who want transportation, who want economic development, who pay the same taxes that people in the development district pay for, and they believe they deserve amenities. And I just need to make that known. Put that on the record.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Robinson?
I would point out that the Marshall Hall area is extremely rural. It hugs the Potomac River and is within the Mount Vernon viewshed, and would not be an area that would be appropriate for grocery stores and the like.
And the Planning Commission would disagree.
Okay. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
No.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 4. Is there a motion to apply the rural conservation land use designation Marbury, Risen, Nanjamoy, and designate this area as Tier 4 on the septic tier map?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
I want to,
Yes, Commissioner
I want
Davis?
to restate my objections.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. All in favor? Oh, excuse me.
Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Nay.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
And the motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 5, apply a zoning density of 1 unit per 20 acres in the Watershed Conservation District.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any discussion or comment?
Yes, I must assert that at this point, I'm concerned that we're creating a county of the haves and have-nots when we have a development district and these types of regulations will not allow people who live in the development district to buy their second homes outside of the development district. So I want to assert the fact that it creates somewhat of a redlining of our county. And I don't know, and I believe there are some unintended consequences that are based on economic status, that are based on race, that this board should be dealing with. And I want to weigh in on that.
Commissioner Robinson?
My proposal is strictly to protect the natural resources that currently exist and should continue to exist in Charles County.
Right. But you're responsible for the unintended consequences of your actions, and to ignore the fact that it creates this type of division among our citizens is irresponsible.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Okay. Roll call vote. Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Nay.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
The motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 6, apply the Watershed Conservation District land use designation to the land surrounding Maryland Airport and the forested Indian Head Tech Park site rather than Employment and Industrial Park District.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. Madam,
I would just add.
I'm sorry.
No, I would just add the reasoning behind this is the county, along with partners, had the opportunity to develop this land for several years. There was never any interest. The county also hired a consulting firm to determine what would be the best uses of this land, and they determined, and we paid a lot of money for this study, that it's the wrong place and the wrong potential use in that particular area.
And
Okay. Commissioner Davis?
yes, and our Economic Development Department, along with the Planning Commission, disagree. And I think it's really short-sighted of us to move forward in this direction to shut down a possible economic engine in our county. And unless we embrace the fact that we need to build an economic engine in our county, we're never going to be able to give our citizens what they have been demanding. They've been demanding recreation facilities for their kids. They've been demanding smaller class sizes. We can't do any of that until we embrace economic development in our county. And we also know the history of this, and the history was that this land was set aside as a negotiation from another preservation area. So Mr. Commissioner Robinson is well aware of that. And also, I was here when we asked for the study, and you only get the answers that you ask for, that the questions asked. And I remember that we asked specifically for a study on how we could move forward quickly to develop this land or to sell this land right away. And I made it very clear that those were the limits of what that study was for. And to expand it to the fact that we'll never be able to develop it is disingenuous.
Yes, Commissioner Rucci.
I want to go a few years back at our economic summit at the JC's. We're a commissioner. We're flying airplanes around this wooden airplane, promoting the airport, tech park, and so they're building and building on the airport, and now we're changing what can ever happen down there. That's why on my amendment coming up, I asked for a compromise just for something. We promote things and then we go back on our word, and I don't know how you bring and listen to our economic development. It's hard to bring people in our county if we keep going backwards and say we're going to do this and we stop it. So I just want to get that out there.
Okay, good, thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Davis?
One other thing, just briefly, this proposal also goes against the recent land use plan that we just passed. I mean, there's so much time and effort goes into getting public comment and having these land use plans and trying to plan with facts and not just politically. We spend so much time with that, and then we just totally go against it. I mean, it's really uncomfortable for me.
I just, along that point, I just want to clarify. You're talking about the Maryland Airport Land Use Study?
The airport land use study and the Indian Head land use study.
Okay, just for clarification, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ball, but I believe we've had briefings on those, but we have not voted on either one of those. Is that correct?
Yes, there was no formal action taken by the commission.
But those were the recommendations.
But they were in the briefings, but we have a group had not voted on that, just for the record. Okay. Okay, great. Madam Clerk?
Okay. I'll take a roll call vote on proposed amendment number 6. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Opposed.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Motion on proposed amendment number 7, eliminate the development district, which stretches from St. Charles to the Potomac River, promoting sprawl development and detracting from efforts to revitalize existing communities.
So moved. With, I think, a little bit of an explanation based on the way it was presented.
I just read it. I apologize. Go ahead.
Second.
It's been seconded. Okay. Please,
Thank you.
Commissioner Robinson.
This is, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory with your sentence, which I don't think needed to be in the motion. And this is specifically to eliminate promoting sprawl development and look towards revitalizing existing communities and replacing the development district with the priority funding area. That's your understanding of what?
Yes, so just a point of clarification, the development district would not be totally eliminated. Right. It would just be redefined to come up with a modified priority funding area.
Correct.
And there's a map here if you're interested in, if you want to look at it in more detail.
Okay.
How would excuse me?
Yes, Commissioner Davis?
So the proposed amendment reads, eliminate the development district. Should we, if the intention is what you just said, should that be worded differently?
Why don't you go ahead and restate the motion, please, as you intended, Commissioner Robinson?
Sure. To eliminate the development district, replace it with a modified priority funding area.
Okay. You have that?
Would you like to take?
Yes. Would
Do you want to take a? Okay, so that's the motion. Is that an amended motion? Is that what we?
Restated motion.
Restated motion. Okay, and
It's really
Commissioner
not
Stewart,
amended.
you second that restated motion? Second that restated
yeah.
motion. Okay. So we'll take a roll call vote on that.
Can we have this?
Would you
Oh, I'm sorry.
would you restate that, please?
Oh.
Please.
To eliminate the development district and replace it with a modified priority funding area. Okay. To reduce sprawl development.
No, I think you can
Or
just leave
just-
it, just
okay,
period, and
modified.
that was more or less
So
my
the-
explanation.
The plan
behind
will
it.
still have a development district.
Understood.
It'll just be consistent with the PFA boundary.
Right.
Okay.
So then perhaps it shouldn't read to eliminate the development district, but rather to make the development district consistent with the modified priority funding area?
That would probably be more accurate.
Yes, Commissioner Stewart.
I'm seeking clarity. Is there a contradiction between number 7 and number 16? Because your wording, the new wording
It's the
is...
same thing.
I think that clarifies it with the,
Right.
with the change in the wording.
So we're not contradicting?
No.
Okay.
So actually, I don't know that there's, well, when we get there, I'm not sure that there is any,
When we get there, we can determine it's already been addressed in this motion. Or just redo it so it's there twice.
okay. So again, the motion then is to make the development district consistent with the modified priority funding area for number 7.
So do I need to move it again, or are we good? I'll move it again.
Okay.
It's been moved. Is there a second? There's a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
The motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 8, ensure the water resources element is consistent with state guidelines, reflects an iterative process to meet standards, and realistically addresses drinking water availability.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
The way it's written, I'm not sure realistically addressing drinking water availability is quantitative. Is there a way to deal with that, to address that?
Well, we did ask our consultants to comment on this, and they gave us a memo that verified it meets all of the criteria as required by the state.
Yeah, fine. I'm just concerned with the way it's written, because realistically addresses drinking water ability is not quantitative. Is there something else that we should add, or should we remove it?
Okay, I'm happy to amend it.
Okay.
Is consistent with state guidelines and refers to studies conducted by the Maryland Geological Survey and other state entities addressing drinking water concerns over the next several decades.
Fine. Thank you. Did you get that, Danielle?
Don't expect me to repeat it. Refer to the video.
I'll refer to the video always. Thank you. We have a motion and a second.
That's an amended motion.
Okay,
So is there a second on
I
the
made my
amended?
amended
He
motion.
made the
Okay.
amended motion. Is there a second on the amended motion? Second by Commissioner Rucci. Are there any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5 votes to 0. Proposed amendment number 9, address drinking water availability based on growth projections.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
Just for clarity.
Yes.
It's very similar to the previous motion. However, based on whatever we end up approving as a final comprehensive plan, the growth projections will change. And so staff should take guidance from this amendment to address drinking water availability based on the growth projections that are determined somewhere in the near future.
Are you making it as a motion or is it just direction?
No, that's just
a
comment.
comment. Okay. Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. And my comment is it necessary? Is, in light of 8, is 9 necessary?
Well, 8 is not just about water availability, it's about quality of water. 9 is specifically addressing quantity of water.
Okay. All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 votes to 0. Proposed amendment number 10, ban any future fracking in Charles County. Do you want me to read that?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been second. Any discussion?
Just that we've discovered over the past several years that it is possible that Charles County sits on an area called the Taylorsville Basin, which might be a source of natural gas that can only be achieved through the fracking process, and fracking, until it is determined to be safe, and it has not been, could be devastating on potable water in Charles County.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Davis, District 3. Oh,
Yes.
excuse me, District 2. I apologize.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
And the motion passes 5 votes to 0. Proposed amendment number 11, protect waterways from pollution with 1 unit per 20-acre zoning for the Mattawoman Stream Valley and 1 unit per 10-acre zoning for all other stream valleys.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It says a second. Is there discussion?
I would just say that the reason that I have the Mattawoman Stream Valley is 1 to 20 and 1 to 10 on all others is the Mattawoman is at the tipping point in terms of its health. And so I think 1 to 20 would help protect it as the viable tributary to the Chesapeake Bay that it currently is.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion or questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Davis?
I believe that this type of downzoning will have devastating unintended consequences for the citizens of our county.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Opposed?
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 12, apply to the state to establish a Mattawoman Nanjemoy rural legacy area.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just obviously this is about natural resource protection.
Any further discussion? Questions? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
And this motion passes 4 votes to 1. Proposed amendment number 13, include Nanjemoy, Mattawoman, and Zakiah in the priority preservation area.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
I have a question, if I could.
Yes, of course.
The Zakiah is actually, on the map we presented, is not in the PPA. It's the Nanjemoy, Mattawoman, and Cobb Neck area. Is that acceptable?
Zakiah is
You want to look at
already
the
a rural legacy area. Is that correct?
Zakiah is in rural legacy.
Right. So it's already protected. So
Yes.
And Cobb Neck was already included as well. Correct.
Cobb Neck was the area recommended by the Planning Commission.
Right. So I would restate my motion to include Nanjemoy, Mattawoman in the priority preservation area.
Okay, so it's an amended motion. Is there a second on the amended motion?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Again, it's
Yes.
about, these areas also contain considerable forested resources, And both areas had been always included in the prior iterations of the comp plan, and I was surprised to not see them still included.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
No.
No. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 14, include a schedule that identifies the responsible parties and implementation time frame for each action in the plan.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion or
This is
questions?
simply a guidance for staff to update the commissioners on a timetable.
Yeah, it takes all of the policies and action items and assigns a time frame to it. It doesn't assign a staff member or staff department at this time, but it does assign the time frame.
And that's fine. That's what I'm looking for.
Any other discussion or questions? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
This motion passes 5 votes to 0. Proposed amendment number 15, recalculate targeted growth rates based on proposed changes.
So moved, but I may withdraw because I think we may have addressed this in an earlier motion.
Okay.
Well, I have drafted changes to the growth rate in the plan and attached it to your board doc, so I think it's still appropriate to have this here.
Okay, that's fine. Then, yes, then I'll stick as is, so moved.
So there's a motion moved. Proposal number 15. Is there a second?
Did he withdraw it?
No, he did not. He
I said I
he-
might.
I thought he was going
Based
to.
on the question.
Mr. Ball said that he recommends that we keep this in, to get this in. Okay.
Yes.
Second.
So it's been second. Any discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry.
Commissioner Davis,
Old
District
habits-
2.
Habits are hard to break.
Exactly right. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
I have a question.
Sure. Before we take the vote, go ahead.
Yes, please.
Of course.
It reads, recalculate the targeted growth rate based on proposed changes. So,
Actually, we should probably remove adopted changes would be a
Adopted
better word. So I will restate the motion to recalculate the targeted growth rate based on adopted changes to the comprehensive plan.
So it's been amended. Is there a second on the amended motion?
Yes.
Okay, it's been seconded. Thank you, Commissioner Davis.
thank you.
Any other comments? All right, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
This motion passes 5 votes to 0. Proposed amendment number 16. Development District residential districts will be identical to the priority funding area based on the state of Maryland's defined PFA map.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Comment.
Yes, Commissioner Stewart.
The intent is to ensure that rezoning in undeveloped areas of the development district is decreased for the density. This would significantly relieve the county's high cost of providing infrastructure and also allowing the county to focus on areas that need to be revitalized.
Thank you. Any other comment or discussion?
Just a point of clarification.
Yes, sir.
There was some modification to the priority funding area because of the removal of the industrial land and the Indian Head Science and Tech Park, so it was shrunk in that area.
So,
It'll be identical to the PFA boundary. It's just the PFA boundary has been modified slightly and reduced.
so does this motion as it's stated
I think
cover
it's,
that?
I think it's
Take care
okay.
of
I
that?
just wanted to clarify.
Just
that.
want to make sure that they understood everybody understands what they're voting on. That's right. Okay.
I think excuse me.
Yes, Commissioner
I
Davis?
think the point is that it's contradictory to one of the other proposals? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I think the language that was changed earlier on a previous motion clarified that to make it consistent.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 17, priority preservation area with Nanjamoy area option should be included in the comprehensive plan for Chapter 11. And the figure 11-1 should be replaced. The PPA information on page 11-2 should be updated to reflect the change in the area.
So moved.
It's been moved. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Comment.
Yes, Commissioner Stewart.
The amendment is coming from an area to make sure that we're preserving our natural resources, paying close attention to state guidelines about protecting and preserving agricultural and forested soils. We need to move forward to make sure that we are not compromising compromising the resources, and creating a PPA in the comprehensive plan is a public policy statement, and it shows that the county's intent is to maintain and support agricultural activities and forested lands.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Madam Clerk?
For Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 18. Okay. Proposed amendment number 18, edit and add language to page 10-25 in order to make affordable housing available to people of all incomes. Add a provision that 10 to 15% of houses in a new subdivision of 20 or more units be moderate price dwelling units. This requirement applies, I don't know if I should be reading. This requirement applies even if the development is phased in over time. Developers are to modify all land in the county that the developer owns or controls that is suitable for development in order to ensure that the law cannot be circumvented by breaking up a development in separate developments of 19 units or fewer. And establishing of the Charles County Affordable Housing Board to monitor the addition of affordable housing to ensure the provision rate is sufficient to Charles County. And the board would make recommendations to the commissioners regarding needed changes to the policy and to ensure developers are in compliance with the county's policy. And further, moderate price housing is intended to assist with the housing needs of residents approaching retirement age with consequent fixed or reduced incomes, young adults of modest means forming new households, public sector employees in moderate income ranges who wish to live in the county. That's the motion. Is there a motion?
Thank you. So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion or comment?
Yes.
Comment.
Yes. Commissioner Davis, then Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you. I believe this issue deserves further study, as so many of these proposals do. And from our own economic development department, there have been several concerns listed regarding it. And history has shown that these types of short-sighted Band-Aid solutions do not work. And several times what happens is that you get an influx of substandard housing, not necessarily moderately priced homes. It needs further study. It needs further direction. There have been several questions asked by our own staff as far as what are our real needs. I mean, is this based on any data? What income groups do we mean when we talk about moderately priced? All of these questions need to be asked before we make decisions that affect our community like this. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for reading my notes. And just to review, this amendment is really focusing on folks who are at retirement age, who's on a fixed income, even our young adults trying to start out and create a home. This is for our public sector employees that need to make sure they have access to affordable housing. This is for our officers in the county, our teachers, our firefighters. These are for folks who sometimes they're struggling to find moderately priced housing. I have to disagree. This is not short-sighted. This is not a Band-Aid solution. And I challenge the idea of it needs further study. I speak with a lot of people in the county, and they're tired of hearing that we need to study, as we study over and over again, and we have no forward progress. I've met with economic development. I've met with staff regarding my proposed amendment, and yes, it does come from data that we have received. It comes from data and research. There's a lot of communities that are moving forward in this, moving forward with this type of policy change. This is not just coming off the top of my head. It is coming from research, and I know that Charles County can make a difference in making sure that everyone can afford to live in Charles County independently if they choose to, not just folks who make over $60,000 a year. Moderately priced index is a index that is followed by the state and the federal government, and I've already had conversations with staff and how we can use other models in counties within the state and even in some neighboring states to make sure administratively that this is a successful program.
Thank you. Any other discussion or questions? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Rucci, District 3. I'm sorry, District 4. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, but I would like to have more information on it. Adequate information.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 19, add edit language on page 7-1, economic development number 4.1. Expand the number of jobs in the county paying above average salaries and jobs that pay a living wage.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Rucci.
Isn't that almost like the ag guy? I mean, it's just a statement. It's almost like the ag development guys. I don't understand why it's in here. I mean, it's almost the same as other ones.
So with
It would be more of a staff.
this is not a staffing issue. In the proposed comprehensive plan, there's a statement regarding economic development, and so the goal states that the county wants to expand the number of jobs in the county. We want to focus on making sure those jobs have a average salary. But the amendment comes from an area that it's important to focus on not just the average salaries, but to specifically state that we are seeking jobs that have a living wage. So it's not about a specific job or a job title or creating a PIN. This is about ensuring that we verbalize that we recognize that we need more jobs, but not just any wage, but a living wage.
I just didn't know if that was a plan thing or I'm fine with it. I just didn't know if that was for comp plan.
Sure. Just for clarification, Commissioner Stewart, the part that you're adding is just the part that's underlined and jobs that pay a living wage. So it's already exists in the comp plan, except for that addition. It's not a mistake. It's just good for clarification.
Right.
Thank
Just
you.
just the underlined statement is added.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Any other? Yeah, Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. I'd like some discussion on above average salaries. Is that something we can quantify? It's pretty nebulous to me.
Mr. Davis, I believe that was the data that was gathered by economic.
Microphone, Mr. Malinoff. Microphone.
Commissioner Davis, I believe that's the phrase that was used in the recently completed strategic plan by economic development, and they identified a median for jobs and identified that the county was below average in our benchmark communities. And so what they're trying to do is emphasized the need to bring up the wage base so that we bring in higher paid or above average. And that was the phrase they came up with based on the study.
In that case, should we reference that somehow?
I don't know how they referenced it in the economic development, in this segment of it, but I don't see any reason why not.
Thank you. I would propose that change
Do you want to amend the,
reference above average
to amend the motion to reference, how would you state that, Mr. Malinoff, in terms of
Based on what was the name of the study? Garner study.
Maybe if you don't mind,
Right.
Ms.
No,
Keith,
that would be better.
come forward to come up and give us the wording, and we'll see if that's agreeable.
In measuring Marcia Keith, the business manager for economic development, in measuring the average wages paid here in the county, there are a lot of sources, Garner Economics and DCI, that did our strategic plan, used primarily the Department of Labor data, which is the same as the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Those data come out, well, there's annual and there's quarterly. I would assume annual is probably appropriate, so what I think would be appropriate would be as defined by the annual data from the Maryland Department of Labor.
I think it should be, excuse me,
Sure.
I disagree. I think it should be defined by our community.
Well, the data from the Department of Labor are based on what is paid
In our community.
in our community,
Same
right.
thing.
So in other words, what the employers in our community are paying, the jobs here in the county.
Thank you.
Sorry that I didn't make that clear.
Okay. All right.
Is that Maryland?
So
Yes, Maryland.
okay. So we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Commissioner Davis, you'd like to suggest to amend that motion? And then we will go from there. So, what would be the amendment? How would that read?
Well, I think Commissioner Stewart, if it's a friendly amendment, then I guess I don't know if she's asking for a friendly amendment or if it is that you're making a secondary motion.
No, you have to make it. I think what we want to do is you would make your amendment, and then the maker of the original motion would determine whether that was a friendly amendment or not, if I'm correct. Is that right? And then we would go from there. So
I think Commissioner Stewart could decide if she wants to revise her motion. And if she doesn't, then her motion stands as is, and there's a second, you take a vote on that. Commissioner Davis can always, ask for another motion at the end.
a separate one
another
altogether,
motion.
rather than
But
amending.
Commissioner Stewart can start by saying if she's willing to amend the motion.
No.
Okay, so it's not so then we're basically saying it's not a friendly. She doesn't accept it as a friendly motion. So her motion stands as it is.
Right, that's correct.
That's right. Okay.
Could I just add, one thing we could also do is the board can give direction that to bring forth proposed legislation that explains the data used in formulating the legislation, the proposed bill that's brought through, and that could be discussed at an introductory meeting for the introduction of the legislation.
Okay.
And as further clarification or direction is given, it could occur at that time. But the legislation can come forth with the data it's based on.
All right. So where we stand right now is we have
Commissioner Stewart's motion as stated.
Yes, Commissioner Stewart's motion. It's been seconded. We've had discussion, and it stands as it's been presented. So if there's any further discussion, questions? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yeah, I'm fine.
It wasn't you, David.
That's all right. Well,
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yeah.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
yes.
Motion passes 4 votes to 1. Proposed amendment number 20, add language to page 3-8, mixed-use developments. Retail sales over 75,000 square feet on one store is not compatible with the intent or purpose of this district and the transit corridor sub-area plan.
I have an amendment, to my proposed amendment.
Okay.
Are you taking C and D separately or C and D together?
I was reading D as being sort of a follow-up action item and not necessarily a proposal to update the county's land development plan. Well, if you'd like it
You
to
can do
be
it
all
separately.
one.
You do it together?
Sure.
Okay.
So, okay, go ahead.
All right, so my proposed amendment number 20 should read from C, retail sales over 100,000 square feet. That's for C. And then for letter D, update the county's land development regulations to limit the footprint of a single-user retail building used in the mixed-use district and transit corridor sub-area to 100,000 square feet.
Okay. Mr.
And-
Ball, oh, I'm sorry.
And this change is to ensure that we are closely in line with the pending legislation that we have already discussed as a board, but not to contradict what we've previously voted on.
I just had one question for Mr. Ball. For D, is that something that would be included in the plan? I guess I was reading it as a follow-up action item, but is it the intent to have that be a part of the plan?
Yeah, we can put it in the plan.
Okay, so that's all one. Okay. That's the motion.
So would you please, I know it's an amended one, but would you mind, Madam Clerk, to read the motion? And then if that's what you intended, Commissioner Stewart, you can move it or not, based on what you... That's okay.
Well, that's not the only change. There's one additional change. I want to make sure that in D, after the word retail, it specifies building.
Right. We have
Instead of use, right?
Right, okay.
Building use.
Building use. So use
insert
remains.
the word building.
Not retail.
It's retail building.
Okay.
The intent is to not discourage. We want to encourage that a building that has multiple retail users, and if a single retailer has over 100,000 square feet, that we're not going to discourage that as long as it's within a building of multiple users.
So you'd like me to restate it?
Would you please
Do
read?
I need to clarify that? You want me to clarify that?
Yeah, does that mean if it's one building over 100,000 square feet, they got to have other users in there? Or-
Or they go up.
So the current legislation that we proposed, that we sent to the planning board, states that if it's over 100,000 square feet, they have to be on multiple levels. If it's one standalone building, it has to be on multiple levels
To go above 100,000 square feet.
to go up above 100,000 square feet. With that being said, we do have, and I've discussed this with economic development, we do have some models in the country where stores have over 100,000 square feet. However, it's not a standalone building. It's a multi-use, mixed-use building. And I think that is what we need to, that's an idea that we need to support in the county or encourage.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you reread the
Okay,
changes?
proposed amendment number 20 has been modified to add language to page 3-8, mixed-use districts. Retail sales over 100,000 square feet on one story is not a use compatible with the intent or purpose of this district and the transit corridor sub-area plan.
That would say in parens mixed-use district after the word district.
Yes, this district, meaning mixed-use district,
Thank
and
you.
the transit corridor sub-area plan.
Thank you.
Update the county's land development regulations to limit the footprint of a single-user retail building use in the mixed-use district and transit corridor sub-area to 100,000 square feet.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
I have to assert our own economic development's position that the value of quality retail development should not be taken lightly, and that the impact of this type of legislation should be further investigated. And I'd like to add that our citizens have been demanding big box grocers like Wegmans and Harris Teeter, and this could stand in the way, as advised by our own economic development department.
Is there any further discussion? Okay. As I understand this, to clarify this for me, that maybe Commissioner Stewart, you can clarify it. This was your motion. This applies just to mixed-use districts and a transit corridor area. So it does not apply to other areas. So,
Thank you. Yes, that is true. With the previous conversations that I've had with the Economic Development Department, that was one of their concerns about making sure that we're not, as a county as a whole, limiting a type of business. And because this is not for every type of zone in the county, those the type of business that Commissioner Davis just named, they would still be able to come to the county, but just making sure that the overall purpose of mixed use in a transit corridor is a walkable community, not a big box, a building that has over 100,000 square feet. So we're not making decisions that would stop a specific company to come to the county.
okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
No.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
The motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 21, edit language on page 1-4 after the last sentence. The zoning ordinance will be updated to implement this comprehensive plan, and adding the language, the county administrator will be responsible for reporting zoning ordinance updates and ensure that goals are established to ensure that the county's comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinances are aligned. State law mandates that the comprehensive plan and zoning is consistent. Therefore, the county administrator will devise and publicly share an implementation schedule to ensure public notification and feedback.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Comment.
Yes, Commissioner Stewart.
This amendment comes from the area of hearing concerns from the public, making sure that folks understand what's going on. We are stating clearly the goal of the responsibility of ensuring that our goals are met. It's all equally important that we want to make sure that as we move forward, the goals that are the benchmarks are publicly being shared. And it's equally important that public notification and feedback is a part of the process as we move forward. And really nowhere in the plan that we talk about the accountability. So I thought it was most appropriate to add this to the introduction.
Any other discussion or explanation? Comments? Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Fine.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
This motion passes 5 votes to 0.
Bless you.
Thank you. Proposed amendment number 22. Change the land use district within the, Proposed amendment number 22 has been withdrawn by the commissioner who proposed it, so I intend to just move past it to proposed amendment number 23 unless there's an objection to that. Okay, thank you. Proposed amendment.
Excuse me, Ms. Do we need a formal motion to withdraw it, or is that's significant?
Since the commissioner who proposed it is offering to withdraw it, then it's
We don't need
withdrawn
to-
unless
it's-
another commissioner wants to move it.
And okay, so
No.
and so just to be clear, the commissioner that proposed this is withdrawn. Is there any other commissioner that wishes to propose this? Okay, thank you. It's withdrawn.
Proposed amendment number 23, include new policy and action item in Chapter 10, Community Development, to require a housing mix of 80% single-family, 15% townhouses, and 5% apartments, include enforcement provisions in the plan and code changes.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second with a question.
Okay, there's been a second. Commissioner Robinson?
On the 5% apartments, are you referring to rental units or people can own apartments as well? Are you differentiating between the two?
Thank you for the question. The 5% is rental apartments, not ownership such as condos. Can I make a edit to the proposed amendment to include the word rental apartments? So add the word rental after the 5% to clarify.
Okay. So then the motion is include new policy and action item in Chapter 10, Community Development, to require a housing mix of 80% single-family, 15% townhouses, and 5% rental apartments. Include enforcement provisions in the plan and code changes.
Correct. So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Davis.
So where do condos come in this formula?
They can be considered single family.
They're considered single
Or,
family.
yeah. Yes.
I think there's a, yeah, I think there's,
I had I was thinking the same thing, and the definition of single families is pretty site-specific, separate dwelling, townhomes attached, so I think we need some clarification on that.
Yeah, if I may, Peter Reluto, Director of Plan Growth Management. Zoning regulates housing type and not ownership. It's single-family, multifamily. That may be something we have to talk to legal about, but we don't zone by ownership, we zone by type. And I think we probably want to reconsider this a bit because we have a redevelopment district, a Waldorf Urban Redevelopment Corridor, and we may want to have a carve out for that if we want to do transit, if we want to do that type of community, we want to carve out for that. I think we understand the intent, but I'm just wondering how we can do that.
Mr. Ball?
I think the single family is what we, typical detached homes is what you're probably thinking of
Yeah,
here.
detached
And 15% could be condominiums and townhomes.
right.
5%. But I would agree with Mr. Ludo about the work, trying to exempt the work and perhaps mixed use or TOD sites from this requirement. Those are dependent on that mix of uses, and apartments can be a vital component to those.
So as previously stated in our conversations, I'm not agreeing to the belief that we only need to have rental property or rental apartments in the work. And then I would consider amending my amendment to include 15% condo/townhomes. And be specifically 15% condominiums/townhouses.
And retain the 5% rental apartments.
Correct.
Is that right? And I'm sorry, I missed what you said about the work. I didn't hear you.
I've previously discussed with staff about their concerns about excluding rental apartments in the work, making it and excluding the work from the provision. And I was not agreeing to that. With that being said, if this passes and we say 5% in rental apartments, projects within the work and if they choose to have apartments, they're going to apply for permits. So it's not saying that the work project will not have apartments, because you still have an allocation.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion or questions? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
I want to know, I'd like to know whether there is any scientific or expert rationale behind the 80-15-5?
Those numbers came from my research of other counties in the state, and then also looking at our data from previous years. Even staff shared, even last year, our permitting for apartments was up to 24%. And as you know, that's primarily in the Waldorf area. If you talk to many residents in the county, it has been shared many times that folks are questioning concern about the number of apartments that are being placed in our county. And I think as a county, we do need to focus more on making sure, for example, the previous amendment about affordable housing, that we are doing everything we can to ensure that people have the opportunity to purchase homes, to purchase condos, to purchase townhouses, to make sure that we are focusing on that, just not building apartments. And also in the 2006 comprehensive plan, there was a provision in the previous plan noting the type of housing mix. So this is not new to Charles County. It was just not added into this plan.
One last question.
Sure, of course.
A comment that I agree with staff that this goes against our current land use policy regarding smart growth and the Waldorf Urban Redevelopment Corridor.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Did you consider it within the TOD, the issue of rental housing and the percentage within that zone per se? Because I've seen other instances where you would get higher density rental along the TOD
I did,
corridors.
in the context of the different zonings, I did look at this regarding all of the zoning, residential zoning.
And just one other, if I could, one other point to clarify here. The intent is not to issue any permits that would exceed these numbers. I think that's the
That
intent.
is correct.
Okay.
But we also discussed with staff about administratively coming up with a process. Staff will have to come up with a process
Right.
to make sure that
There'll be some administrative changes to make to do that.
Okay. All right. So after that discussion, if you wouldn't mind then rereading the motion with the two changes that I have here.
Okay, so proposed amendment number 23, include new policy and action item for Chapter 10, Community Development, to require a housing mix of 80% single family, 15% condominiums/townhomes, and 5% rental apartments, include enforcement provisions in the plan and code changes.
Okay. Is that reflect your motion, Commissioner Stewart? Okay, do you want to move it? Is there a second? Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Stewart, District 3. Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2. Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
The motion passes 3 votes to 2. Proposed amendment number 24, remove the following action item in Chapter 3, Land Use, page 3-26 of the draft comprehensive plan, which reads, letter E, support other efforts to implement the airport land use study that are not specifically related to land use or zoning issues.
So moved with a comment.
Yes, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Commissioner Stewart.
With conversation with staff, this statement is really no longer needed in the plan, and it's really not, it's so broad that it's not specific enough to really lend to its point. And another thing is, in Chapter 3, we're talking about land use, but in this statement, they're talking about things other than land use and zoning. So that's why my suggestion is removing the statement.
Any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
I would like to know why staff believes it's no longer necessary.
I think that related to The airport land use study, so that the airport land use study, the actions taken earlier no longer, the airport study is no longer applicable to
I need to hear that. No longer applicable to what?
the comp plan.
When did that happen?
When you remove the agricultural or the industrial and employment land use around the airport earlier in the
That
amendments.
couldn't have been your recommendation earlier because we hadn't done it earlier. So that's your recommendation now.
No, it's not our staff recommendation. It's just that that's happened. So that was part of the amendments that we have reviewed.
Well, I would also just suggest that, just for the record, that it says to implement the airport land use study, but we, as I mentioned earlier, we've only had a briefing. We haven't voted on that at all.
Right.
So it's not a study that has been voted on by this board. So it seems a little bit like putting the cart before the horse to me in this statement.
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Okay. So to clarify, the Madam Clerk has presented our proposed amendments to us in the order that they were provided, or the way that they were given within session. And what happened was, with me reading the entire comprehensive plan, when I got to this page, chapter 3-26, and I read E, I put a question mark beside it because the intent of the statement was not clear. And then when I went to staff and asked for clarification on that specific point, it was then shared with me the meaning of it, or that it was really kind of ambiguous. However, if a previous amendment was passed, then this statement will no longer be needed. So that was that's pretty much summarizing, but that's the conversation I had with staff.
Should we skip and go back to my amendment?
That's up to Commissioner Stewart.
I don't
This is
think
her-
so.
this is her
I think it's separate. It's a poorly written statement.
Okay. All right. Okay, Madam Clerk. No further
Commissioner
discussion.
Stewart, District 3.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
Yes.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4. Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Opposed?
Commissioner President Murphy.
Yes.
Motion passes 3 votes to 2. We have 2 additional proposed amendments. Okay, we have amendment number 25 that was offered by Commissioner Davis today. That was to, with respect to the 1,160 acres located south of Billingsley Road, east of Middletown Road, keep the site out of Watershed Conservation District. Would you like to move that proposal, Commissioner Davis?
Yes,
Yeah.
so moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second? Okay, it's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes, Commissioner Davis, please. Go ahead.
Considering this stage of the process, we have put so many other acres into conservation. I think we have put ourselves in a position where this is a reasonable recommendation at this time, considering that this is in the development district.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Yes, Commissioner Rucci.
Development, basically schools and let's be a walkable neighborhood, 2 schools.
So it complies with our intentions of having workable neighborhoods, smart growth, with our smart growth plan. That's all.
Great, thank you. Any other? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3.
No.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
No.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner President Murphy.
No.
Motion fails 3 votes to 2. Our last proposed amendment, number 26, proposed by Commissioner Rucci today. That is with respect to Chapter 3 land use, Indian Head Tech Park property, and the 50 acres within Chapman Forest. The amendment is to retain a portion of the Indian Head Science and Technology Park for economic development, both the northern half and the southern 50 acres, totaling approximately 80 acres. I have that right, Mr. Ball? As an employment and industrial park land use and its current planned employment park zoning, while allowing the remainder of the Indian Head Science and Technology Park to be changed to watershed conservation land use and zoning. Commissioner Rucci, would you like to move that at this time?
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Robinson, District 1.
No.
Commissioner Rucci, District 4.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, District 2.
Yes.
Commissioner Stewart, District 3. No. Commissioner President Murphy.
No.
The motion fails 3 votes to 2. That concludes our proposed amendments to the comp plan.
Well, I want to thank each and every commissioner for the really robust discussion and